First two seats from me to my left is on vocals and guitar, Mr. Maynard Plant. Three seats from me, also on vocals and guitar, Mr. Blaze Plant. And the furthest from me is the band's drummer, Mr. Tax. And immediately to my left is the renowned bassist, Dixon. Okay. So, with that, if I could perhaps ask Maynard to explain the purpose of the band's visit this time.
Thank you. Well, first off, I'd like to thank you for having us here, and thank you for coming. It's great to be back in Canada. This is our first time to be playing in Toronto, and on this occasion, we'll be playing as KIZUNA ambassadors, which is sort of a difficult word to describe in English, but there's words like resilience, bond of friendship. There's sort of a one for all, for one meaning to the word as well. But we take this honor very seriously. Having lived in Sendai now for 11 years, it's been about 11 years. In Japan for 14, 11 for my brother. Tax is born in Sendai, and Dick moved to Sendai when he was about 18. In Sapporo, 19? 18. We've been there for most of pretty well our entire career as musicians, and well, as you all know, there was an earthquake last year, an occurrence that happens, once every 1,000 years, a terrible disaster. We've been doing our best, not only as musicians, but as human beings, to try and sort of reshape or restructure, keeping spirits high. And these experiences, as well as our music, is what we'd like to bring to our audience today in Toronto, and also in 2 days from now in Ottawa. There's a lot of, through the media, a lot of the disaster has been sort of taken, of course, naturally with a lot of negativity and sort of sadness. But what we hope to bring through our music is a little bit of positivity, and maybe bring to our Canadian fans some sort of sense of hope, and that it's still a wonderful place to be. And if we can get anything out of this tour, would be the sort of sense that Miyagi-Ken in particular, or overall, Tohoku is still a wonderful place to be, and encourage people to keep a keen interest in what's going on up there. So I've kept it as simple as I can, and I'll be happy to answer all your questions as well as all four of us. He said, there's the word in Japanese, hagemasareta, right? Basically, getting more out of it than you actually felt you were putting into it when you were volunteering. Didn't matter if somebody had lost their entire house, had lost friends or family. You always felt that it was them helping you, and yet you were there to help them. I just don't know how they were able to do it, but that ability to make people feel welcome and thanked. So if anything, that gave me the courage to keep going on. So it says a lot about humanity. It says a lot about people in these kind of circumstances where you all sort of join together for one common cause. And what I'm trying to make for the past year is that while naturally there was a huge amount of support within Japan, naturally within Tohoku, we were overwhelmed with the amount of support given from the rest of the world. And in particular for us, our home country, we paid particular attention to, not only on the media level, but we were getting tweets from fans who are in Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, who do bottle drives, collections. We're talking ridiculous amounts of support. And just it was on a daily basis, we were just getting bombarded with so much support from everyone here in Canada, and we would then relate that back to people at home. And so what I want to say to everyone, particularly the Toronto community, and would you say the Nikkei community, I guess, and then all the other communities that helped out, just a big thank you. It means so much naturally to us, but even more so to all those who lost so much, and their continued support is appreciated. And we're just taking our first step. It's been a year, but this is where things start, really. And so I just would, on top of thanking them, I just like to ask them for their continued support. We still need their help. So.
I think you said it well enough.
じゃあ日本バージョン。
そうですね。まあこういう時代ですから、あんまりこう。
And do any of you have families and children?
Yes. Actually, he's the only one who doesn't. So.
How were your children affected? And did your music help your children heal from this process?
Fortunately for me, my children were sleeping during the earthquake. They were in a car, so the car probably felt like we were on the highway or something. So they didn't have to experience the first hit. However, from that point on, there was about, 1,000 to 2,000 tremors a day, which were all magnitude 6, so they were pretty awful. It was a very scary time. I would have to say, I don't know, I'm not them, so I really can't put myself into their minds, but definitely, I mean, when I was a child, I never went through anything that terrible. But I would assume, even as an adult, having experienced it at this point in my life, I think I want to say internally it's had a positive effect on my soul, I suppose. But beyond that, I think there's nothing but negativity, really. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, it's a tragedy, a disaster. So yeah, I really don't know how to answer the question besides saying that I think there's probably more worse than good. Yeah. But, you know, humans are amazing beings. They seem to get through anything. So.
Well, that kind of segues into my next question. In Haiti, they're still healing, but it's still just as negative as when the earthquake first
Yes.
hit them.
Yeah.
How is it in your hometown or your new?
Well, in Haiti, it's gone beyond a natural disaster to an environmental disaster, and that's going on and on. And you know, they need. And this is I sort of alluded to it earlier. Or at another interview, that there's disasters all around the world, and this time with Japan, one thing we noticed, and one thing that we have to be fortunate and grateful of is the entire world got behind Japan and did what they could to help. And it's strange because within the first couple months, immediately you had CNN and a lot of other media, major media, coming back to Japan. This is like after 3 months, looking for the rebuilding stories. And I remember thinking like we're not even past the cleaning up stories yet. And I would say the rebuilding, I mean, it certainly has started on a superficial level, like definitely, like, I mean, people's houses that were hit just by the earthquake are getting fixed up. Blaze's house got fixed up. Mine's still in the process, should be done next week, but there's not enough carpenters around. So I don't want to say that it's all negative, but you know, these things take time. But as you know, the other thing we say is this is a good time to come visit. You know, people's curiosity, sometimes we're guilty. We feel a bit ashamed that we're curious to go and check things out. But in this case, I think the curiosity could be the biggest healer for northern Japan. Just having people come up and say hi and spend a few days, and even if it's just to come take pictures. I mean, it's still tourism, right? And so in that sense, it's I don't want to say it's all dark and grim. I mean, of course, in Fukushima, it's a little different story with the nuclear disaster, but as a place to come visit, it's a beautiful place. It's, I would say, even more beautiful than it was before the disaster. And people are, you just really have to come up to see how wonderful people are dealing with the whole thing.
Was the government helpful to get everything back in place, even though it's not completely back in place at this time? But I can drink Katrina. I understood that how horrible it was because I had lived in Florida and we had gone through 3 hurricanes, we were back in place where Katrina wasn't, and it was the government that really made a huge difference. In Japan, has the government been...
These guys might have
非常にね、難しい、質問だと思いますね、これは。問題は2つあって、1つはその津波による、被災された方に対しての迅速な対応っていうものと、もう1つは原子力の問題だと思いますね。そこは何が正しいかっていうのは前例がないっていうこともあるし、僕らはねそういうことを言える立場にある人間でもないし、でも一国民、一市民として言わせてもらうと、時にね迅速だったり、勇気ある決断だったりっていうものを目にも捉える場面もあったし、そうじゃないことも後からね明らかになったっていう部分でもあるので、それはやっぱり二度とね同じことは起こしちゃいけないことだと思います。やっぱり大きなねハリケーンの問題とかっていうのはこう何度も何度も経験されてどんどん改善されてくるっていう先人の方の知恵っていうものがね今に生かされてるってことがあると思うので、我々がこう生きている以上万が一同じことが起きた時に迅速な対応っていうものを後世に伝えていかなきゃいけない。それが僕たち、生きている人間の使命じゃないかと思います。
Good luck with that one.
Okay, it's a difficult question. There are two aspects. There were two aspects to the reaction. One is for disaster relief to the victims, of course, and the other had to do more with the nuclear disaster. What is the correct response? Because there were really no precedents, it's difficult to say, and really, generally, we, in our position would not be in a position to say such things. But as one citizen, I could say that certainly there were some decisions that were made that came across as being quite courageous and decisive. There were other decisions that perhaps later we could look upon as perhaps mistakes. Certainly with things like hurricanes, wisdom in reacting to such things are developed over many years. And so this is something that is improved upon over time. If by chance such a disaster as the earthquake in Japan happens again in our lifetime, I feel that the lessons learned from this time, we have a duty as human beings to convey to people who might be in charge then. How's that?
Good translation. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay.
I'm up, I guess.